The Sydney Sweeney jeans controversy has reached the White House. Now, if you have no idea what that sentence means, Sydney Sweeney is a very famous actress. She was in Euphoria and series 1 of The White Lotus. That's where I know her from. And last week, she starred in this advert for American Eagle jeans.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has her genes.
Now, the ad was controversial because obviously it's a play on the double meaning of genes, and saying this white woman with blue eyes and blonde hair has good genes appears to play on, I suppose, the racist idea of eugenics and racial hierarchies. Now, I think there's something to that for sure, though some of the criticisms did veer into the far-fetched.
So the message that's communicated, you think, covertly in a way, is what? Sort of slightly dog whistle fascistic stuff?
I believe somebody made a mistake and made an oversight, did not consider the diversity of perspectives, and inadvertently, perhaps, although we know that marketing executives have been quite open about wanting to stir some kind of controversy with this campaign, I believe that they inadvertently made this implication and made that parallel between so-called good genes and offspring and the language of passing down these good or great features, and this model whose initials, quite frankly, don't really benefit the kind of scandal.
Oh, come on.
That is,
oh, no. Because her initials are
that's
SS.
true.
Okay, well, let's just give up and go home. Right, well, it seems from that, the Nazis are back and they're trying to sell you genes.
Anyway, this whole ad drama, much of it ridiculous, some of it reasonable, got a new bounce in the news agenda yesterday when it was revealed that Sweeney is registered as a Republican in Florida. And it got another boost when Donald Trump said this.
Sydney Sweeney, it came out this weekend that she was a registered Republican. Any thoughts on that?
That who was?
Sydney Sweeney, she's like a very hot actress right now.
She's a registered Republican?
Yes.
Oh, now I love her ad. Is that right? Is Sydney Sweeney? You'd be surprised at how many people are Republicans. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Ash, have you been following this story? Do you feel strongly about it, let's say?
Tell you what I feel strongly about, Michael. I want a one-way ticket to Dignitas stat. I do not want to have to fucking talk about this advert. And I don't want to have to provide the soundbite that I know that many on the right are looking for of woke brown Muslim woman goes crazy about Sydney Sweeney. The simple fact is that brands are trying to work out how to pivot and make the most out of the post-woke moment. Because every single brand hires an army of marketing experts to sort of take the temperature of like, well, what's the mood? What's out there? And try and think about how they're able to reflect that mood back to a consumer audience so that consumer audience buys stuff. It doesn't mean that they're sincere in advocating, the 14 words of wanting to secure a future for blue jeans and Sydney Sweeney. But they also weren't sincere in wanting to support Colin Kaepernick when he was blacklisted by the NFL for taking the knee, or Jaguar when they put out an advert which was, very diverse, very genderqueer, and doing that to sell cars. They were just trying to make the most of what they thought the zeitgeist was, which was in favor of diversity and progressive causes. Now, the cultural pendulum has swung. And so American Eagle is like, okay, Sydney Sweeney, there's this sort of controversy that's been surrounding her for some time because she's a very, conventionally beautiful woman. She's been sort of a target for people saying that, she represents something deeply regressive. How can we play into that, stoke some controversy, which means that this ad is going to get free airtime, right? Don't forget, brands have to pay for advertising space. If their advert is being replayed on the news or being shared on social media, they don't have to pay for that ad space. And also, how can they perhaps, welcome in a whole new market of people who, might be Republicans, might be Trump fans, and make them think, we're the brand of jeans for you. Levi's, I believe, responded with a Beyonce ad because she's partnered with Levi's, because denim, the Cowboy Carter tour. Again, everything in pop culture is just marketing. It's just to sell you stuff. It's not real art. Beyonce has better jeans, which is sort of like, ho, ho, ho. Is it, going to be, this famously beautiful Black woman versus a famously beautiful white blonde woman? All I can say in terms of which side I pick, I pick the side that's going to put me into a medically induced coma, Michael, because this isn't serious politics. This is brands trying to capitalize on a political moment.
The irony here being, of course, we're also giving this company free advertising, though they have been on pretty much every American cable network and every newspaper. So I doubt this will marginally have that much impact on how many jeans they sell. Ash, so I suppose to finish, I think we can both agree that this is a cynical ploy from these capitalist enterprises, whether or not they're trying to appeal to a woke audience or whether or not they're trying to appeal to a socially conservative audience, let's say. Not necessarily that, that advert's traditionally socially conservative, but I suppose a more... A normie audience that's not interested in diversity. Obviously, I'm sort of struggling for words here, but anyway, putting their cynicism sort of as a given, is it in any way interesting, worrying, meaningful that sort of brands have switched from thinking to sell goods, they have to sort of fit into a zeitgeist which has progressive values, and now they feel like they should fit into a zeitgeist which is potentially mocking progressive values?
Well, look, the images that you see around you can have an impact on self-worth. I think that there is this slight note of mocking or taunting. That's something which can kind of have a bit of a trickle-down cultural effect. But again, I mean, let's talk about something different, right? Which isn't Sydney Sweeney, but this whole thing about skinny is back, right? So because of Ozempic, very, very thin ideals of beauty for women are back. They also call it the Pilates body, which is just another way of packaging anorexia, quite frankly. Of course, it's worrying in terms of part of that trickle-down effect will be disordered eating and negative body image for millions and millions of women and girls out there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that when you've got different body shapes being represented in advertising it's better. I mean, it's still just brands trying to sell you shit, and they'll abandon it the minute they think that it's out of style and out of fashion. If you actually want to have a solid sense of self-worth and a solid sense of like, this is what makes me desirable and this is what makes me beautiful, don't look to brands to provide it for you. That's the best advice I can give.
Other than Novara Media, you should obviously buy our merch, novaramedia.com/shop. It will make you look completely beautiful.